Hi, John Helsley and Kyle Fredrickson here at Big 12 Media Days in Dallas. The Mountaineers here, Pistol Pete's here. The Oklahoma State players will be here tomorrow, though, Kyle. Day 2 of Big 12 Media Days. Kind of a stealth candidate, the Cowboys are, because of the way they finished last season with a couple of big wins. Some momentum really coming into this.
Absolutely, and I think it's interesting the players that Mike Gundy selected to come out. When we think about this past season, we think about Mason Rudolph, we think about the offense, but the players we'll talk to tomorrow, Emmanuel Ogbah, Seth Jacobs, Kevin Peterson, a team that in a lot of ways is going to be led by its defense. So it'll be interesting talking to those guys about those raised expectations just because of how strong the Cowboys finished the year, and a lot of guys with a lot of hype. You know, 3 players on the Cowboys defense earning all Big 12 preseason honors. And of course, the man himself, Mike Gundy, will be there to talk. And hopefully, and I would imagine, with a positive attitude like we saw after those 2 wins last season.
All right, you mentioned Mason Rudolph and the offense. Mason Rudolph will not be here tomorrow. I think that's going to be curious to a lot of people. I think having talked to some folks today, some of that may go with the idea that he'll be back again next year and the year after that, and maybe too much exposure, at least for the kid. It gets old after some time. But he really has a lot of things to talk about. He had an interesting summer, obviously an interesting end to last season.
Absolutely, and when we talk about why this team is considered that dark horse, it does come back to Mason, you know, and as you said, a big summer for him on and off the field. Made a trip to Israel with his grandparents as sort of a retreat, a spiritual retreat for Mason, as Christianity's a big part of his life. And, you know, talking about the Cowboys offense in general, there's tons of reasons to be optimistic. Brandon Shepard returns, James Washington returns, you know, a wide receiver core that's really stocked. But when we talk about running the ball and the offensive line and who's going to be that #1 back, I mean, how do you assess that situation, John?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think August is a big month in that regard. What you're talking about right there, the running back situation. So many positions for Oklahoma State are pretty well set. I think there's going to be some battles for depth and you know, some of that sort of thing. But the running back question is going to be probably one of those that carries on. Chris Carson, obviously, the junior college transfer, Rennie Childs. You know, with the receivers that Oklahoma State has, I don't think they have to be great at running back. And if they are, the offense really takes off, I would think. But I think they just have to be good there. But who is it going to be? Is it going to be Chris Carson, Rennie Childs, somebody else? I think that's going to be very interesting.
It absolutely will be. And among just player storylines and things of that nature, a lot of Big 12 storylines that will impact the Cowboys this year. Earlier, we heard Bob Bowlesby talking about the number of physical contact days that teams will be allowed this year, cutting that down to 2, being a game and 1 day of practice where they allow tackling and physical contact. It'll be interesting to see what Coach Gundy has to say about that topic. He's been a guy in the past who's really been supportive of laying off that contact, keeping his guys fresh. How do you expect him to react to that news tomorrow?
I think, if anything, Mike Gundy will say business as usual. Right. You know, he's sort of been out front on this. It's one of those things that he considers, you know, treating the players right, not practicing as much, not practicing as long. We had Todd Monken, one of the offensive coordinators, a couple of years ago, said he went to Mike Gundy and said, hey, we need a little extra time in today's practice. And Mike Gundy told him, no, fit it in. Find a way to get what you need to get done in. I don't think this is going to really be an impact decision for Oklahoma State.
Right, absolutely. And as we move on into tomorrow's coverage, be looking for a lot more storylines coming out of the OSU camp. Interesting to talk to Emmanuel Ogbah about some of the NFL draft expectations. Kevin Peterson being that senior in the defensive backfield. A lot of prime topics that we'll be delving into.
All right, well, stay with the Oklahoman, newsok.com, and also in the paper every day for the best coverage on Oklahoma State sports.